every day, 24/7, in the face of what we're saying. Look, I was in that debate with Piers Morgan on that day. And the bottom line is this Ofcom's ruling totally whitewashes what has happened. Listen to me. When I say that Piers Morgan was objectively irresponsible as a broadcaster, I mean what I say. He was objectively offensive on race and mental health, especially with the way he was so dismissive of what she said in terms of her own experience. And he was deeply personal. Piers Morgan continually uses his platform. What he did that day was to use a national platform, the ITV studios, as his own personal living room
He
just rat out whatever
he didn't believe her.
about her.
He didn't believe her.
It was not just about him not believing her. People want to make this just about freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Freedom of speech does not come without consequence. And he's a broadcaster. He brought his personal dislike of Meghan Markle into the debate, into the words.
James, you're shaking your head.
I think it's really important to understand the arguments here, and I can understand why you might say what you say, but I don't agree with everything Piers Morgan says by any stretch of the imagination. However, to have somebody with the power that she has, that Meghan has, to be able to call up his boss and to put pressure in the way that she did, that ended up with him losing his job, is, in my view, reprehensible. And the things that she and Harry have done in particular to use their fame and celebrity to make money off the back of the royal family, which we pay for, is reprehensible. Okay. And so I think for Piers to be able to express himself in the way that he likes, good. He absolutely, Ofcom got it right. He's right. Well done him. Well done Ofcom. Because I'm sick and tired of not being able to say what I think about people.
Shola.
I respectfully, unequivocally reject your rewrite of history. The fact that Meghan Markle reached out to ITV, like if I was complaining, all of us reached out to ITV, a lot of people reached out to ITV or to Ofcom.
Yeah, but you couldn't you and I couldn't get through.
No, but let me put it this way. Her complaining about what he said about her is her right to do so. You're talking about freedom of speech. What he did was not just expressing what he thought about her. It's the fact that he brought his personal dislike into her.
You wouldn't have that access
and I have,
to the chief executive
with all
that she
due
has.
respect, you cannot silence Meghan from being able to complain about the impact of his words on the wider, on mental health.
I'm not complaining. I'm not saying that that's a problem.
Can we just correct this?
Yeah, well.
Piers Morgan was not fired. And Meghan Markle did not get him fired. He took his white privilege out and walked out of the job. That's what he did.
He was put in an intolerable position.
No, he was not put in an intolerable position.
Before we move on, let's just have a look at what Ofcom actually said. So we've got the ruling here. There's a lot of fine print here. I'm going to identify just one phrase. So the particular thing they say is that broadcasters can express their views consistent with freedom of expression. And they use this phrase, let me highlight it, that if they went ahead with the complaint, it would be, and I quote, here is the phrase for you, a chilling restriction on freedom of expression. Let's have that in close up there. Now, Shola, that is a problem, isn't it, for your argument?
No, it's not a problem for my argument. It
should be.
What I'm saying, the reason why it's not a problem, it's a false foundation. It's a false foundation because the reason they came up with this and they let Piers go is that they said that there were people like me and Susanna on there who were able to give a robust defense or robust view to what he said. That should have nothing to do with the fact that his conduct was reprehensible. Listen, Piers Morgan continually uses his own power and influence to aggravate racism, bigotry, sexism, and misogyny against Meghan Markle.
And so do you,
and
that's the problem.
He has a malicious obsession against Meghan Markle.
Is this all about?
It's not just about Meghan Markle.
Okay,
I don't do
Shola,
that.
let James
I don't have a malicious obsession over anybody. So you can't accuse me of that.
Hang on, Shola, sorry. That you're saying this comes in the end down to race.
No, not just to race. It's the whole thing. He's a broadcaster.
Yes.
It's not his personal living room, the Good Morning Britain studio. He brought his personal dislike of Meghan Markle into what could have been, okay, I don't believe her. Nobody needs him to believe it. That's not the point. But the way he spoke about mental health, the way he spoke about race, the way he turned the whole conversation to be about
with him.
Let James speak.
And I did disagree with him. I'm saying the impact, James.
Let James
so
speak.
many people who experience mental health will be impacted by what he did, because that
okay.
emboldens other people
right,
to
no.
go ahead and
James,
do it.
what about the mental health point?
The mental health point is a really important point, and I agree with it. We've got to have proper conversations, and he did actually correct himself on the basis of what she did, but what he said, which was wrong. But my view is that it's not about it being his personal living room or anything else. I want to have a country where broadcasters and people and individuals of all different views, of all different backgrounds, are able to make their
But
point.
not without consequences. The point. Nobody said he can't. Nobody said he can't.
There is a
express his
consequence.
thought.
There are
James.
consequences. He's not
Nobody's
doing
saying
that job anymore.
And not
But
be
he
fired for
walked out of the job. Nobody fired
Well,
him.
yeah,
It wasn't
he was put in an intolerable position.
Hang on, he was
He
pushed
was
out.
not.
No, he couldn't
should have
carry
sat
on
his
working.
butt down. He created the heat in the kitchen,
as
and he should have stuck through it if he truly had the conviction.
No, because he
of
was
his
being
cause.
forced. He was
He was not being
to
forced to do it.
apologise.
He left.
James, let me
He
just
left.
ask you, going back, you've conceded a very important point, which is that he was wrong to say, when she said, I felt suicidal, he's wrong to say, I don't believe you.
He's wrong. I think that the difficulty that we've got with mental health and mental health discussions is that you do not know what's going on in somebody's brain. You don't know how they're feeling, and you certainly can't. And where I would absolutely have sympathy with Meghan is that when she joined the family, I am sure that the stuff that happened was impossibly difficult to deal with. I cannot imagine how hard it was to adjust to a life where you've had fame and celebrity, but you've had it on your terms, and then suddenly you have fame, celebrity, notoriety, and responsibility on somebody else's terms, and they're controlling every aspect of your life.
And she couldn't leave the palace.
I'm sure that was impossibly difficult, and I'm sure it played on her mental health. But the point is that subsequently, I think that Harry's behaviour, because he knows that, and her behaviour has been extraordinary. I think it's right for Piers
We're
to
talking
point
about
it
Piers
out.
Morgan.
Okay,
We're
all
talking
right,
about
yeah.
his conduct.
So-
We're talking about the fact that he knew, one, that she had lost a child, right? The previous summer, she was heavily pregnant at the time. Here she is sharing her own experience about being suicidal. He uses his platform to not just say, I don't believe her, which he can or can't believe her. That's not the point. The point is, he uses language that not only dismisses, but it derogates that kind of, that kind of
but
experience.
you
That
may
is
find,
wrong.
James may agree with you on that point, and Ofcom did as well, because they said his words on the actual mental health part of the interview with Oprah, which he didn't believe, they said was potentially harmful and highly offensive.
Which is
That's not
why
what
the
headlines
Ofcom
are
ruling-
saying.
Yes, it's
All
not.
of the
No.
headlines are like, Piers Morgan has won against Meghan Markle. Piers Morgan and Meghan Markle were never in a battle in the first place, because
right.
Meghan Markle
Well, let's-
doesn't even recognize
Okay.
that Piers Morgan exists.
Yeah, because
That's
she cut him off.
Okay,
exactly.
let's stop here. Let's pause.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Royal Sussex Squad, where we break down the truth, cut through the lies, and celebrate Prince Harry and Meghan for the inspiring work they do. Now let's talk about Piers Morgan. The man simply cannot keep Meghan Markle's name out of his mouth. But let's get something straight. This was never a battle between Meghan and Piers, because Meghan doesn't even acknowledge his existence. What really happened? Meghan simply did what any person has the right to do. She spoke up against dangerous rhetoric. She shared her struggles, and instead of showing an ounce of human decency, Piers dismissed her experience like it was nothing. And that's where the problem lies. Freedom of speech? Sure. But freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. Piers wasn't cancelled. He walked away because he couldn't handle accountability. He turned a serious conversation about race and mental health into a personal grudge match, weaponizing his platform to spread misinformation. And let's be real, his obsession with Meghan is beyond unhealthy. It's disturbing. Meanwhile, Meghan and Harry are out here doing the real work, advocating for mental health, supporting military families, and making a global impact. Yet, the media keeps giving airtime to those who thrive on tearing them down. It's time to call out the bias, the hypocrisy, and the relentless smear campaigns. Meghan and Harry aren't the villains in this story. They're the ones pushing for change. If you support truth over toxicity, hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to send your support with a super thanks. Let's stand up for what's right.